Hey, everybody, this is welcome back. Which one you like, Scott? This one or this one?
I like that one better, but
Okay.
either one's going to work.
All right, let's do this one. Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm excited to talk with Scott Ferguson. We know each other from way back where I was doing commercial real estate. He was doing residential. He's now in Florida doing residential real estate. He's a Navy vet. Thank you for your service.
Yeah,
Scott,
buddy.
I appreciate it. And he's got this amazing just group that this tribe that he has created called Time to Shine Today with 55,000 loyal people who are following along. I was on your podcast the other day, had a blast, and I'm excited to have you here today because you're doing great things. Time to shine. Your motto, your creed is we don't want anyone to feel like they have no one. And so let's talk about that because I think we're sitting here right now, Scott, it's July 27th and we're in the middle of COVID. And I think, there's a lot of people, especially elderly people who do feel kind of alone, do feel like they have no one. They're feeling isolated and things of that nature. So how does Time to Shine Today help them?
Well, it kind of takes me back to really quick my story.
Yeah.
I was kind of approached in the mid to late 90s by like Sally Jesse Raphael, Jenny Jones, Montel Williams, all those talk show hosts for my story because it's rather unique. I was born in 1972 in the Philippines, and at that time, my father was an American GI. My mother was Filipino. He got killed in the war, and at the time, bastard babies, male babies, were actually taken from their mothers and shipped to Spain because the Philippines are a Spaniard island, right? So with that being said, my mom gave birth to me, and I was kind of taken by another Air Force couple they were looking to adopt, and they started the adoption process. And the woman who was going to be my mother, her father got sick. We fly back to California. They got me a temporary passport, and her father died, and she kind of went a little schizophrenic, kind of a little crazy, for lack of a better term. They couldn't raise me, so they put me in an orphanage. Raised in an orphanage for a couple of years, and I was adopted by a family in Detroit, Michigan, who I call my mother and father. And they divorced like 3 months or 4 months after adopting me. And it was just like a crazy, and I was shipped from family to family, different homes and whatnot. And so I had this whole abandonment background, right? And then I moved into the military, which became my family, and which is fantastic with the Facebook phenomenon. I'm able to reconnect, get back, with the guys that I served with, which is fantastic. And I built a pretty solid real estate business. But as being in Detroit, I didn't listen to my mentors to say, bank your money. Instead, I was raised with a mentality of a lack mentality. I love my father, but, he's a line worker at General Motors. And he was a Vietnam War vet who was heavy into alcohol. And he never really raised me with a prosperity mind to save and not hoard, but save. And I lost everything when the market crashed, man. I was freaking literally, I don't know if you know this, man, but I had a short sale because they were in vogue back then, and a short sale listed. And they moved to Florida, the owners, and I lived in their basement with my dog for 4 months, kind of squatting in their house until I reinvented my real estate business into short sales. And I ended up closing, which just can be totally vetted out in Michigan. I closed over 100 short sales in 2 years. There in Michigan. And, that kind of rolled me up into saying, I'm going to get out of Michigan, move to South Florida, and I practice here. Time to Shine Today started 10 years ago with the feeling that we don't want anyone to feel like they have no one. And I started it by saying, listen, you're going to have a side hustle. You're going to have to make your first dollar online, which I did. And I started teaching people that, and I built a squad, I call them my varsity squad, of over 55,000 subscribers. And I drop podcasts, I drop product reviews on them to help with items that help people level up their health, wealth, and mindset. And that's just the story of what got me here. Is I've been without people, anybody to lean on, and I've set up a connection carousel of coaches and people like yourself, John, that when people come to me and they want to level up, I only coach real estate agents, so I can help them coach. I can send them to other people that can help them level up their business, period. So, I have everybody from suicide prevention to health and fitness, NFL football players. I got guys like Grant Cardone, Randy Gage, their programs. You're all within us that we've interviewed and got them in front of people. So we're able to help as many people as possible. And that's my story, man.
Your story is incredible. It's such a story of resilience, courage, and just really having to, really have the right mindset, because that's all. I mean, you really had to persevere.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, a kind of a fixed, scarce mindset versus an abundant mindset. And I think a lot of people, I know there have been many times in my life where I have kind of, tried to figure that out. But for you, it's kind of like, how did you, because you had to kind of, it sounds like, really kind of find that path yourself.
Yeah.
And so how did you find it? And then how did you not only connect with it, but then how did you keep growing from that point? Because it's easy to talk about. It's very hard to do in execution.
You know what? I was really into like fitness and nutrition, and I still am, to take care of myself. But, I was a personal trainer in West Bloomfield, Michigan. When I got out of the service, that's what I did. I was a trainer at Peter Nielsen's there in West Bloomfield.
That was the first gym I ever worked out in, Peter Nielsen.
Back there in Orchard Lake area, kind of back up to the restaurant.
Okay.
Right.
So how old are you?
I was, at that time, that was 98, so I was 26.
So 1998, I'm trying to remember. So when I graduated college, 1990, 1995, I worked out at Peter Nielsen's gym from about like 95 to 97.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a great gym.
Oh, it was fun. And it was a one-on-one personal training.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. Peter was great to me, but like the people that were that came in there were predominantly Jewish. Okay. And which was awesome. I didn't know what, the religion was or anything. And like, I had some mentors that became my mentors in there that were the Jewish, and their mindset behind money is a lot different than how I was raised. So they actually took me under their wing and helped me level up that side of my life. Okay. They're friends to this day. They were my first investors in my real estate portfolio. And they would also take me out and sit me down and really, I was a sponge when I was training them. I was giving them my knowledge of being a trainer, but I was just sponging off of them the information they could have to help me level up the monetary side of my life. Okay. Yeah. The money side. But what happened is I got too full of myself, didn't listen to them when I was printing money in 03, 04, when if you had a pulse and said you made $100,000 a year, you were getting a loan. They said this is going to end. Didn't listen, and I paid the price on it. But to answer your question, JD, I really just sponged off people because I had that abandonment mindset, or had it, and I still do every once in a while, that if I hear somebody and they're paying attention to me, I sponged off of it. I wanted to know everything, and then I took that and put it into action and started to level up.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, because you bring up some really good points. I love what you're talking about, mentorship. I'm a big believer we all need a minimum of 3 mentors. And I think mentors and coaches are so important for growth and to accelerate your growth. Right. But then there's that fine line of listening to your coach, listening to your guts, but not kind of listening to your ego. Right. And so you got to know, sometimes the best coach is yourself. You just need sometimes a coach to bring stuff out of you and educate you and give you new perspectives and new ideas and just new lenses of looking at things. Right. So how have you figured out how to, have mentors, take their advice, but also kind of make it your own and still not lose your own instincts?
You know what? Mentoring is something that my mentor was Gary Shapiro. I don't know if you remember, he owned Ivanhoe Huntley and stuff like that. Sure, and what Gary used to tell me is like, listen, man, I like you, I mentor you. And he told me that the more, and he wanted me to continue passing it forward. And the more people you mentor, the more immortal you become, period. So the more I can pass on the knowledge, the more people that will remember me a little bit. And that kind of tickles that ego side of what you were talking about. But it also lets me build and leave that legacy of giving until it hurts so good by mentoring. So mentoring is so important. And when you say sometimes, coaches, will come aboard. I mean, I coach real estate agents. That's my niche. And the real estate agents that I have are in the real estate business are blowing me out of the water. And so I kind of had to take the And luckily, I live here in South Florida, my office is on PGA Boulevard. And I've talked to some of the top golf coaches, to help me level up my real estate coaching game with people that have the bigger egos and the bigger pocketbook when it comes to actually what they're making in the real estate world. And they're like, listen, man, like I'll throw out Tiger Woods. It's like Tiger Woods, the best golfer in the world at one time, but his coach wasn't, but he still listened to his coach to help him level up. So that's the mentality I had to take to help people level up and to kind of take on a little bit of a mentoring attitude as well.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's important. Paying it forward, I'm a big believer that many times, it's knowing when to be a student, knowing when to be a teacher, and paying it forward. And a lot of times we also learn best by teaching. So I love what you're talking about when it comes to mentoring. So you're mentoring residential real estate agents, I'm assuming.
Mentoring coaching, correct? Yes, sir.
Mentoring coaching. Mm-hmm. And so what are you seeing, during these COVID days, right? Again, we're recording this live July 27th, 2020. Mm-hmm. What are one or two things that all of these residential agents need to be doing to level up?
One, don't make excuses for the situation that you're in right now, because there's never really been a better time, because what our government's doing with the rates, it's opening up a whole line of buyers here. That's why I tell them, don't make excuses for what you're doing. Don't make excuses because you're not technically savvy when it comes to this. I mean, I'll tell you what, John, after I get off with you, I got buyers from New York that I'm hopping on a Zoom with and virtually showing them stuff. So don't make excuses. And secondly, work your Rolodex, work the people that have purchased from you before, or have, just make sure you're doing the fortunes in the follow-up, man. You know what I'm saying? Follow up right now, because people want to hear from you. They're sitting there, and a lot of them are still staying in quarantine and whatnot. And they want to hear from you, just to hear your voice and be like, hey, man, you remembered me during this time. So follow up with your past clients, or, even your current clients even more, and don't make excuses.
Yeah. I hear you. Fortune is in the follow-up. I like that, but let's talk a little bit more about follow-up, because, to me, it's kind of like that one drop of blood can ruin a gallon of water. And you can be really great at what you do, but you don't do what you say you're going to do. Lack of follow-up, which I think in most people is a big headwind, personal headwind. Sure. And so what are some of the things that you advise people on how to be consistent with their follow-up and actually implement, execute, and do what they say they're going to do?
Basically, staying power is bigger than willpower can ever be. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to stay the course of what you're being taught or what you've taught before. A lot of people will back off and take their foot off the gas when times of uncertainty happen. And I'm not sure if I'm answering the question correctly, John, what you asked me, but it's like, again, it all goes back to what got you there, and then continue to do it and adapt and overcome to any hurdles that you have.
Yeah.
It's just not, I got a lot of excuses, even from the people I coach, and then also agents in our office as well. I'm kind of like it's funny, we have a real millennial office here in South Florida, and I'm kind of like the silverback. I'm like that guy that's 48 years old. I'm not 70, but I'm also not 25 or 30 years old. So I get a lot of the kids coming to me, and that's what they say. And the first thing I say is, man, quit making excuses, make adjustments, because that's what winners do. And I'm not calling you a loser if you don't, but you're not taking the winning strategy of making those adjustments.
Well, I think just making a note. I mean, I agree with you. I think that, we all go through kind of an adjustment period when we're out of alignment, but you got to quickly get back to center and back into alignment so you can take action. But
absolutely, John.
Excuses get you nowhere. I want to just go back for a minute and just kind of talk about your backstory and where the drive of, so much of your drive kind of comes from. And I appreciate you sharing your backstory, because I think A lot of times people don't share their backstory. And I think today, especially in today's world, people want to be able to connect with somebody. They want to connect with their backstory. They want to understand what drives them. And so how can people be, kind of showcase their authenticity and share a little bit of their backstory, which people, sometimes people just get nervous to do that. I share mine. If you go to my website, I share
it's there. I love it.
And I get calls all the time, surprisingly enough, where people say, "Hey, I read your story, boom, boom, boom." And so people like the realness of it. So just talk a little bit about the power of vulnerability with that.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was never really ready to, if ever, to share it. When I was approached through different channels, through those different networks and talk show hosts, I just wasn't ready. I was 27 years old. All I cared about was making money, and I really was doing it at the disservice of helping people, in that it came to be, listen, man, I was abandoned. I don't really care. I was a vulture, man. I'd prey on other people's misfortunes at the time, because of how I came up through the abandonment feeling. Me and my dad are best friends now. Have always been best friends. It's just we were disconnected on mindset, but now we have the best time ever together. But to be able to tell the story helps open doors for me for like connections, meaning to be able to meet more and more people. And that's where I set the embarrassment aside and just really said, you know what, I'm going to share it. It's a great, story, for a lack of a better phrase. And, it can move people, and it has moved people. I've told it on stage where people came up and said, listen, I have this, I have that, issues. And man, I really resonated with you. So that made me feel real good. And there's a kicker to that story too, John. It's like, I have a twin sister my mom kept. She lives in Jersey. And you want to know what she does for a living? She's a residential real estate agent. So it's like,
I never knew that about you. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Are you connected? Are you connected?
We're not super close, but what happened is back in, I don't know, 2004, I developed like a mole on the back of my leg, and I was just like, oh, so I hired a good buddy of mine who's a private investigator, and he's like, listen, man, you got like 9 half brothers and sisters, but you have a sister there's a Jovi Abellio, and she is born February 21st, 1972. And so I dug, and then when I connected, they're like, yeah, my biological mother passed away from an aneurysm in 98, so I never met her, but she kept Jovi. But because of the standards with the males that were going on there, she gave me a better life. No matter how you slice it, my life is a lot better, because you don't hear what's happened to those males that were taken over to Spain, because the Spain controls the Philippines. It's a Spaniard country. So you don't hear of anything that's happened to them.
Yeah. Oh, that is wild. That is wild. Well, I appreciate the perseverance that that you share your story, and just kind of the perseverance that you, and how you attack your life and your business.
Yeah. I mean, every day is, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for sun, oxygen, and gravity. Once I start there, then everything else I don't know, John, it's just life became easier for me the more I started to give. That's all I really do, man. I give till it hurts so good. And that's what I love to do, man. And I give, but John, I give with also the expecting of receptivity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I expect to receive. Now, I might receive it in a different way, where I go and mentor and I'm giving. I might get a call from my goddaughter, who never calls me, that lives up there in Brighton, Michigan, and she'll call me. She called me out of the blue the other day. And I really sat back and thought, after Kelsey and I spoke, I was like, that was the law of receptivity. I was open to it, and it just happened. She never just called me just to chat, and it wasn't one of those, I need something, nothing. She just called to shoot the crap, So, and I think that the law of receptivity is huge. I think that people don't understand that how that works is people are like, oh man, you give. Yeah, I expect to receive 100%. Just like go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you have to be open to receive things. I think people who typically give, you also have to receive. I'm somebody who likes to give. I've actually had to work on the ability to actually receive.
Right.
And I think once you work on that, then the universe opens up and gives you so much more than you could imagine.
It's a law, bro. It's a law. It must happen.
It's a law, yeah.
Like, I mean, like I surround my whole room here. I have a virtual background, but I have plants everywhere. You know, I breathe in oxygen, I breathe out carbon monoxide. The plant breathes in carbon dioxide, it breathes out oxygen. It's the universe. It gives and takes.
Yeah.
You're not takes, it gives and gives, if you will. You know, and receives, gives and receives, I'll say. So that's just, it's universal across the board. And there's a maturity part of my mind that wasn't ready to wrap it around that, you know, and say, man, I don't know about that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, just keep giving as much as you can with an open to receptivity. And like you just said, you've quote unquote struggled with it a little bit yourself, or you're like, dude, should I feel okay about receiving? Heck,
right.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy when you got to work on it. Like any muscle, you got to build it.
Right.
So let's talk about, you got such an interesting life and background, but I want to talk about Level Up because, timetoshinetoday.com is your website.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about the type of people that are, part of this community and, how people can become part of it and what it means to be part of it.
Say that again, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we broke up a little bit. What is Time to Shine Today? Like who are the people that should be subscribing? Who is it for and what does it do for them?
Great question, man. You know what? My avatar that I built when I started the podcast part of this is someone that's, 25 to 50, is what I'm saying. I know it's a broad age, but I also have a lot of millennial interviews on my podcast about, with people that are younger and leveling up. The avatar is, they're waking up, they have a job, or maybe they don't. They're commuting, 20, 30 minutes to work. Know that there's something more out there that they can use to level up. They're missing something. They're coming home at night, hugging the wife, petting the dog, kissing the kids, and they're plopping on the couch and throwing in the next Netflix, but they know they're feeling something that's missing, that they need to level up. And just my want, and we just moved in the top development self-help podcast, is I want those people to hear it, right? And really resonate, because, when I interviewed you, John, it was awesome because I never knew that a lot of the side of you either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That came out. So it's like I ask questions about their company, but I also dig deep into who they are.
Yeah.
So when I have a connection carousel for different people, like I have a person I interviewed, Jason Holzer, who's a suicide counselor, and literally someone listened to my show, said I'm struggling, and I was able to give him over to Jason, and Jason helped him out. I mean, that stuff like that is friggin' phenomenal. Dude.
Yeah, it's vintage. I saw the other day that you had, coincidentally, you're friends with, my designer, marketing person, and everything. KP.
Fran. Hey, when you see her, if she's watching this, call her Fran. And I'm not kidding. Fran. Tell her Eugene said hi. She'll know what you're talking about.
All right. But I saw you interviewed a longtime friend, my brother of mine, Dory Weinstein.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. I mean, I know her as Dory Weiner, but she's great.
Yeah. She's a lot of fun.
But so it's great. It's great watching you grow your business. Talk for 30 seconds about the importance of a podcast and the reach that you get a little bit more, because I'm a big fan. I tell everybody you should have a podcast. Some people say, well, it's oversaturated, but I say, but not to you, not to your audience, not to people who want to hear from you. So just talk a little bit about why everybody should have their own podcast.
Because if anything, it's a journal for who they are. There's only like 1 million podcasts. That's it.
There's not that many.
There's not. I mean, you want to go blogs, you're talking 500 million blogs.
Right.
So if you're looking to compete, which I never started to want to compete, John, it was December 19th and I dropped my first episode. Yeah. And I started putting it out to my squad, my subscribers, which at the time I had like 35,000, maybe 36,000 subscribers. And they were like, bro, this is awesome. So, and it was fantastic because my first 30 of them were monologue, just me. And then I didn't even bring in my first interview till interview 33. And it was this veteran that was walking across the United States for suicide prevention for my fellow vets. And then he put it out to his. And then all of a sudden things just started to explode. So to answer your question, podcast is nothing more, I believe, than a journal of who you are. And if for anything, don't be afraid to share your story. That's podcasting's huge. It's huge. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going. What's your favorite part about podcasting? I mean, I know you shared a story before, but what's another favorite thing you have about podcasting?
I get to meet people, man. It's a free freaking masterclass with every single interviewee that I bring on. Dude, what I brought on and the knowledge nuggets you dropped, JD, it's like a free masterclass for me and my clients, or my listeners. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, mine too. I love it. I love the idea of giving and having something that's journaled and long term, but it's like a mini master's class for me. I love it. So in closing, right? So how are you your time to shine today, level up? How are you leveling up right now during COVID? And how should people be leveling up their business during this time?
Right now, it's never been a better time. I think that you need to utilize places like LinkedIn. If you're in the business, to meet people from all different backgrounds and then make connections with them and then start a dialogue and start Zooming with them and leveling up. Whether you're looking to level up into a new job or whatnot, there's connections on LinkedIn, like my good friend Casey Haston, from VIP, that all she does is connect people with new jobs. I mean, they should not be making excuses. They should be making adjustments and then always leveling up, man.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Last couple questions. You ready, Scott?
Go.
Favorite book and why?
The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews was the book that was handed to me during the when I was sleeping on that freaking bed in a short sale. And it's basically a dude that's going through hell and his daughter's dying, loses his job. He says, I'm going to commit suicide, runs his car into a tree. Next thing you know, he wakes up and he's with Harry Truman the day before he's going to drop the bomb. And then he goes to King Solomon and gets wisdom. And then he goes to Anne Frank and he talks to 7 different people about how they level up, man. And it's the best book. Wow. And that's followed up closely by Bob Berg's The Go-Giver.
So Bob Berg, I think, did we talk about Bob Berg? I've had him on my show a couple of times. Have you interviewed him?
What's that?
Have you interviewed him?
You know what? We talk about it all the time when we see each other in restaurants and stuff, or like we'll cross paths. I mean, he lives right down the street from me here in June. Yeah. So we'll definitely get him on. I've introduced him to other people to get him on the podcast, but the Go-Giver is, I have, his 5 laws of stratospheric success literally on my wall over here. It's all framed and everything because it's amazing. That book's a close second to Andy Andrews, the Traveler's Gift.
I never heard of the Traveler's Gift, but it sounds unbelievable.
It's awesome. Yeah,
it sounds great. I appreciate you sharing that. Best piece of wisdom you ever received?
Don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive.
I love it. That's a good one. Best piece of advice you would give someone who's graduating college right now?
It's not what it's who you know. You've just specialized for 3 to 4 years, sometimes 6, 7 years, depending on how long it takes you to get through school. To specialize in something, make as many connections in many different fields as you can. Period. And remember the people that you went to school with, because in the future you're going to do collaborations with them just because you have that in common.
And always be kind. People remember. People remember the people who are not kind later in life. As everybody matures, you remember the kind people.
And I mean, I have a quote here on my wall, man. It's the more you are as a person, the less you need to prove yourself to others. Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth. Humility is huge.
Lesson that took you the longest to learn, Scotty.
You know what? Money, bro. I hated to say it, but it was money. Not having a fear of it and the fear of losing it, I should say. I would have it because I never had it. And when I had it, then, I thought it was never going to end. Then I lost it. And then it's like now every time I started to level up, I was afraid I was going to lose again. So that's a lesson I learned. I learned I do this exercise through my coach of riding the wave. And it's basically a take 6 exercise of breathing and then letting that thought go. And it's worked, but I do it every day. I exercise my mind just like I do my body.
Yeah, it's important. I meditate every day as well, and I think it's absolutely critical. My last question, your time to shine today is the website.com. What's one thing people can do right now to basically level up and shine?
You know what?
One simple thing. One simple thing.
One simple thing, get enough sleep. I'm just going to leave it at that. Because you know what? Like, you grind, you think that sleep's not important. I learned the hard way, man. I was out like a light. People didn't know what happened to me, and I cracked my head open and stuff like that. And it's all just because I kept going. Get your rest.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Scott, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
We can get a hold of me. You can text me and my team directly at 561-440-3830. Go to timetoshinetoday.com. And I would recommend /podcast because that's where a ton of knowledge nuggets are. And and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm all over.
All right, good. Scott, always a pleasure. I appreciate you taking time to talk with me and the Think community. You're always full of just like real great just knowledge, content, wisdom, and expertise. I appreciate it, and thanks, and keep on doing what you're doing. And we will. I'll tell Fran you said what up.
Tell Fran I said, hey, I love you, dude. I really appreciate everything that you're doing out there, man. I'll put you on LinkedIn off in the corner. Like, I have like 5 screens right here, and when you come on, I put you on. I just listen in. So keep doing what you're doing. It's freaking amazing.
I appreciate it, Scott, and we will definitely keep in touch. We'll talk. All the best to you, and all the best to the rest of the month, the year, etc. We'll talk. We'll stay connected.
Thanks, Johnny.
All right, Scott. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.